Hey guys, new disclaimer. I am not sure what's true or false in this video. I take gossip and tea from online, from magazines, from books, from word of mouth, from all over, and I ball it up together and I tell you guys a story. Now, let's get to the video.
Hi everybody, this is Ashley with Ashley Says So, and I am back with another Old Hollywood Scandals video, and I want to let you know that this video is brought to you by Skillshare. A lot of y'all want to be and can be content creators, but you just don't know where to start. Skillshare is where you need to start. They are an online community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators. And I am talking about all creators. See what I mean? They offer classes in almost everything. Skillshare combines video lessons, class projects, hands-on feedback with short lessons to fit any schedule. The videos they offer don't even have no ads on them, honey. Sometimes we just need that extra push, that extra knowledge. Like right now, I'm taking a class called Videos for Instagram, learning how to tell an engaging story in less than 1 minute with Halise Narvaez. I can tell a story, but baby, I talk too much. You know what I'm saying? I need to learn how to condense that for Instagram. So like I'm saying, it's here to help us. And if you speak Spanish, French, Portuguese, or Dutch, baby, they got subtitles. It just ain't no excuse at this point, y'all. And I want success for all of us, because if the talent is in you, y'all, it's just in you. And that's just what it is. And that is why the first 1,000 of my subscribers who clicks the link in the description will get 1 month free of Skillshare. So go ahead and sign up, y'all, and become who you know you can be. Now, we got one more thing to do before we get to the video, and that are the member shout outs. First up is Latoya Billingsley. Second up is I Just Can't 2020. Twin Loves 2, Moxie Do, Reg, Bruce Big Daddy Wayne, Lion Tribe, ASMR, Jefferson Vorner III, Tatiana Stark, and Morgan Ray. If you have not heard your name, do not worry, do not fret. We will continue to do member shoutouts the further we go along. Now let's get to the Hollywood Scandals. Finally, child. Y'all know who this is about, honey. Mr. Jive Turkey and Dancing Fool, honey. Sherman Hemsley. Baby, if y'all would have seen my feet right then, y'all would be on the ground. But let's move on. Sherman Hemsley was born on February the 1st, 1938 in South Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. His mother's name was Arsenio Hemsley Edwards Chisholm, and she worked in a lamp factory, and his father's name was William Hemsley. Gossip says that when Sherman was a child, honey, he could be forgiven for thinking that he was the new baby Jesus and his mama was the Virgin Mary child. And this is because the streets say that when Sherman was a really little boy, he didn't even know he had a father. And then as he got older, of course, he understood he had a father, but he didn't know who the man was. He had no idea. In fact, gossip claims that he did not meet his father until he was 14 years old. And I'm not sure of the backstory to that, but it really seems like that his mother and father must have been married at some time and then they separated, because clearly they had the same last name, even though Miss Arsenio had a whole bunch of other last names too. But whatever the case, he did make a connection with his father at 14. I would love to tell you that they kept that connection and kept their father-son relationship, but I don't know. I do know that whatever the case was with his father, it did not bother Sherman's childhood. It doesn't seem like he had any kind of outburst or, started acting out or anything like that. He just had a smooth, regular childhood. Now, as he got to his teenage years, things did start to get a little bit iffy for Sherman. I mean, really, he just felt like there was nothing that school could do for him, so he dropped out in 10th grade. But he joined the military. And to be more specific, he joined the Air Force. And it was going well for him for a while, but then gossip says that there started to be two sides of Sherman. One side was very quiet, very reserved, very shy. And rumor has it that this was the more dominant side of Sherman. This was the side of Sherman that a lot of people got. But budding inside of him was this very rambunctious, funny, easygoing side. It seems like he wanted to express that side a little more and a little more. And soon he found out that the military would not suit this side of him. He also found out that what would suit this side of him was acting. Now, apparently, because Sherman did not know how people would react to him wanting to become an actor, it seems like he kind of kept that information to himself. And if this is true, I can kind of understand why. Think of like the most quiet person you know in your life. They just, what I'm saying, they don't even want to talk to nobody. And all of a sudden they come up to you and be like, well, I want to act. Most people would look at that person and be like, want to act? Boy, you can't even open your mouth. What you talking about you want to act? So it seems like Sherman knew that people would react like this. So like I said, he kind of kept it to himself. But then after 4 years in the military, he decided that he wanted to go full blown with his acting. And so he left the military. When he got home back to Philadelphia, he did start acting with local troops. But then he found out that, hey, wasn't no money in that. It wasn't paying the bills. So Sherman ended up getting a job as a mailman. And with this mailman job, rumor has it that Sherman is making some pretty doggone good money. So much so that he could have just threw up his hands on acting, and been like, like, hey, I'm making some pretty good money here. You know what I'm saying? This is a good job. I'm just going to stay here and grow with the company. But Sherman said, no, honey, no. Acting was his dream. He was not going to give up on that. So he didn't care how much money he was making as a mailman. He was still going to pursue his dreams. And that's exactly what he did. And very soon he took that mailman or postman paycheck and he enrolled himself in night classes at the Academy of Dramatic Art. So clearly this guy believed in himself, not only enough to invest money in himself for something that there was no guarantee if it was going to work out. And not only that, to still go to these night classes after working a very long shift during the day being a postman. And then he wouldn't just go to these drama classes and, you know, slug around and things like that. No, gossip claims that the people that attended with him said that Sherman would come completely alive during these classes. He really enjoyed himself. So anyways, it is the late 1950s and early 1960s, I do believe, around this time, but Sherman is delivering mail by day and he's acting by night. And then soon somebody comes and puts a bug in his ear and they tell him, hey man, I think you're doing great. I really do, but I think you can go further by moving to New York. There's a group called the Negro Ensemble Company and I think you would do really well with them. And at first, apparently Sherman was like, you know, thank you for the invite, but I'm good here. You know, I don't want to move to New York. I'm good in Philly, and if things are meant to pop off, they will pop off right here where I am. Then, child, the late 60s, early 70s started coming around. His tail started realizing that he was still in the same spot, and he started to see that he was stuck. So, you know, Sherman was like, wait a minute, baby. Ain't no money to be made down here now. Now, y'all pushing me. And very soon, he did pick up, and he moved to New York to join the Negro Ensemble Company. When he does sign on, he quickly stars in many of their productions. And as far as personality, once again, it is noted that this guy just comes alive on stage. He's like this big ball of energy. You know, he got this big bubbly personality. Now, here's the thing. Once Sherman gets to New York and starts to show this bubbly side of himself or this outgoing side of himself, it was not reserved for only the theater, okay? In New York, it's claimed that he was like this with people that he met in New York, you know, new friends, things like that, because he wanted to start trying different stuff, started doing some things. And by crazy stuff, I mean the claim that he started smoking weed. And of course, that's not super crazy, but it is claimed that Sherman Hemsley did kind of start smoking marijuana, you know what I'm saying? He was hanging out with different crowds of people, just really opening up in his personality. So this is supposedly the start of Sherman Hemsley loosening up. Now on the career side of things though, Sherman Hemsley is making a name for himself more and more. Even if he was on stage with other characters and other people, he would take the attention of the audience. They were attracted to his characters and they liked his talent. And because of this, his name started moving in bigger circles. And it wasn't long before he was offered a role on Broadway. And this is when he starred in a play called Pearlie. He was fantastic in Pearlie. His over-the-top acting got the attention of Norman Lear, who was the writer and producer for Good Times as well as All in the Family. And Norman Lear had been looking for a husband for Isabel Sanford, aka Louise Jefferson, who played the neighbors to Archie Bunker on All in the Family. Norman Lear was looking to make the Jeffersons, their roles to be bigger and have them, you know, in more recurring episodes. He was thinking of starting a spin-off show with the Jeffersons, and he wanted Sherman Hemsley to play George Jefferson, period. So anyways, Norman Lear reaches out to Sherman Hemsley. You know, he's all on the phone. Hello, Sherman. This is Norman Lear, the writer and producer for Good Times and All of the Family, and I can say today is a lucky day for you, sir. I have chosen you to play George Jefferson. So when can you come in? And if you're wondering why I ended it like that, it's because Norman Lear was sitting up there looking stupid because the response he got from Sherman Hemsley was no, I do not want to join your show. I do not want to be George Jefferson. And of course, Norman Lear was like, are you sure? Like, this is a spot on TV right now. You're in Broadway. And what it was is that acting to Sherman was performing in front of an audience and not no little studio live audience. You know, they holding up signs telling you when to laugh, laugh tracks and, you know, nothing like that. He liked to perform in front of real life audience. Like I said, Broadway audiences. So he told Norman Lear no. But see, Norman Lear was smart. Norman Lear knew that nobody could play the role of George Jefferson like Sherman Hemsley. So instead of him, like, you know, getting mad and being like, okay, well, you know, forget you, man, and all this kind of stuff, he didn't do any of that. He basically told Sherman Hemsley, hey, look, I really need you to be on this show. I'm not casting anybody until you say yes. And Sherman is like, hey, guess what? You finna be looking like a fool then because, buddy, you finna be waiting. And baby, he definitely was waiting. And I'm not talking about no couple of weeks or a couple of months or nothing like that. No. Norman Lear waited 2 years before Sherman Hemsley finally said, okay, yes, I'll do the Jefferson. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's because the full run of the show Pearly was finally over. So that's why Sherman Hemsley was like, let me just try the TV thing, see how it works. So as soon as Sherman Hemsley becomes George Jefferson, he makes an immediate splash, a huge splash, especially when All in the Family has the Lionel's engagement episode and there's this party and Archie Bunker comes and he calls Mother Jefferson a mammy and all kind of stuff, and it's just George really shines through, his personality shines through. You know, finally you have a black man who's not afraid to say honky. You have a black man on TV who is wealthy. I am not sure if he was a millionaire, but if he was not, he was very close to it. It was clear that he was the boss. He was not afraid to speak his piece. And then when they did finally confirm the spinoff, The Jefferson Show, oh baby, that really made it clear that George Jefferson was the boss. I mean, even in the opening credits, it shows him standing on the back of a white man. So it was really, really a big deal for Black Americans. As a matter of fact, it was a big deal for all Americans because gossip claims that a lot of white people had got kind of uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? They were a little uncomfortable with seeing a black man that was either above them or on their level. This is why George Jefferson acted the way he did. This is why he had the pimp walk, why his attitude was so snappy. He was not a classic gentleman, like a black wealthy gentleman. He was not that. And apparently he was made to act that way to put the white audience at ease, to make them feel like, you know, oh, okay, well, he got a little bit of money, but look how he carry himself. You know what I'm saying? He's still not on our level and all this kind of stuff. But see, now I gotta drop a little bit of personal opinion on that because see, I don't care if that was the reason he was made like that. To me, that made him more authentic. I liked him being like that. I like that pimp walking, you know, going off on people and all this kind of stuff. It seems more real to me. But anyways, to get back to Sherman Hemsley and George Jefferson, I mean, it was really, really a big deal. This guy was certainly moving on up. And he also instilled a sense of pride in other black people, black men in particular, that they could do something with their lives. This character owned multiple dry cleaners. He just really was a jewel to the black race at that time. But now let's sprinkle a little bit more tea in it. Those people that felt like, you know, George shouldn't be acting that way, he shouldn't be walking that way, talking that way. It is claimed that Sherman Hemsley was one of those people. He felt like that his character shouldn't do this. And most of all, he felt like that his character shouldn't hate white people. He didn't like that bigoted side of his character. And he also said that it didn't make sense with the script. He said if his character, George, was just so bigoted and so prejudiced, why would he have a white friend for so many years? Why would he have a white friend for so long? That's Tom that I'm talking about. Sherman felt like it just didn't make sense. He felt like, you know, if I had somebody that always had something snappy to say to me or always had something racist or prejudiced to say to me, I certainly wouldn't continue coming around and being this person's friend. So he just didn't understand like the dynamic between those two characters. And he also felt like when the Jeffersons started off, they had a message, you know, at the end of every episode, but he felt like as it went along that they kind of lost that message. You know what I'm saying? That the show really just became for jokes, you know, goofy. Now here's a piece of gossip that I find pretty interesting because you know how I said that George really opened up to people that he was doing the play with? Apparently when he got in the TV studio, he was not like that. He built relationships with people, but it was not like he was like super outgoing and, you know, just laughing and putting all his business out there. Like he wasn't like that. It seems like he became much more reserved like he used to be. So I'm guessing he did not feel really comfortable around them. Although Sherman may have been like that in the studio and on set, when it came to his personal life, these folks are saying that Sherman Hemsley was a complete hippie. Now, he was really smoking weed heavily, honey. He kept a blunt in rotation, baby. He also supposedly loved progressive rock bands. There's this band named Gong, and there's this guy that was a part of the band named Gong. His name is David Allen. He told a story of how Sherman Hemsley got his number and started calling him. And at first, you know, he kind of ignored him, didn't pay it any mind, and then Sherman started calling all the time. So finally, the guy talked to him, and Sherman was like, you know, oh, I'm a big fan of the band Gong. You know, I love you guys so much. How about I fly you out here to meet me? And this David guy was like, oh, that's a little bit strange. I don't really want to fly out there to meet you. And then as Sherman continued to ask more and more, I guess the guy David Allen was like, you know, let me use this guy, see what I can get from him. So he basically told Sherman Hemsley, hey, you know, me and my girlfriend need to fly to Jamaica. I need to lay some tracks there. So Sherman Hemsley says, hey, no problem. I will buy those tickets for you guys. You know, you guys could go to Jamaica. You know, just come down and visit me. So this guy David Allen jumps on the plane and he comes to Los Angeles to visit Sherman Hemsley. Well, he says when he gets to the airport, he sees this black guy and there's fans just all around him asking him for autographs. And as he gets closer, he realizes that, hey, this must be the guy. This is Sherman Hemsley. Sherman introduces himself, and then this stretch limousine pulls up, and then Sherman and David Allen from Gong, they get inside of this limousine. As soon as they get in there, David Allen says that Sherman lit up a fat blunt, honey, very long, and he was just smoking. And he handed it to David and was like, hey, you want to hit this? And David was like, no, man, I don't really smoke marijuana, all of this good stuff. And then Sherman was like, what? You're a part of a band named Gong, and you don't smoke marijuana? And David was like, no, I just don't do that. They pull up to Sherman's house. When they get inside of the house, David turns around to look at the front door, and there's a sign hanging on the front door that says, don't answer the door. It may be the man. And so David is wondering, like, why does this guy have this sign hanging up on this door? Well, as he walks on further into the house, he claims that there are these 2 Puerto Rican guys in there, and these guys have an LSD lab. And not only do they have an LSD lab, it is claimed that every floor of Sherman's home had a crack/cocaine depot. And so by this time, David Allen is like, Jesus, this guy does LSD, he does crack cocaine, like he got this lab in his house. And when he gets to this last room, he says he's opened the door, and there's this 3 Southern girls. He said they were built fine, honey, had booty, waist, hips, just fine. They was girls from the South. He also said that they were a little dumb, kind of slow acting. And he said these girls were high out of their minds. And he said it was clear to him that these girls were there as playthings. It was 3 women, and it was Sherman and those 2 guys. So, I guess those girls were there to fulfill whatever their needs were. And so I guess after he made this visit to the house, he left, because the story kind of just ended there. There is another rumor out there that is very similar to this, except this rumor says that those 2 Puerto Rican guys were taking advantage of Sherman Hemsley. And they said that Sherman Hemsley was super nice, super kind, and he was very gullible, and that those people around him were very bad men. And it was almost put like Sherman wanted friends or something. You know what I'm saying? I don't really understand it, but it was almost like he wanted friends, so he allowed these people to come into his home. Actually, when it comes to the wanting friends part, there is more tea about that in just a minute. To touch back on Sherman's acting career real quick, everything is going great with George Jefferson, but as the show comes to a close, it is clear that Sherman Hemsley has been typecast. People simply expected for him to be George Jefferson all the time. And then sometimes he auditioned for roles, or he wanted to audition for roles, and they told him flat out, no, George Jefferson cannot play this role. And they would be like, I'm not George Jefferson, I'm Sherman Hemsley. Yeah, whatever, buddy, just shut the heck up. No, you can't play this role because people will see you as George Jefferson. And this is why some of the roles after the Jeffersons ended, like A Man and things like that, he pretty much played the same character as George Jefferson. Now, after A Man, he did a few more acting roles, but before we get to those, as well as the end of his life, it's time to get to a little bit more scandalous tea, baby. Now, this first bit of tea is about the show The Jeffersons. In 1985, when The Jeffersons was canceled, the cast had no idea. In fact, it's claimed that a lot of the cast didn't even find out until it was broadcast in like media magazine. They report, oh, this show is canceled. That is when they found out. Still though, no matter how the show was canceled or what happened, Sherman Hemsley decided that he was going to use the money that he had from the show, and he was going to back himself another career. And a lot of people did not know this, but Sherman Hemsley not only wanted to act, he wanted to have a singing career. So honey, Sherman got in that studio and came out with a hit on his hands, honey. I mean, that man was jamming. Now, I do have to say this, it was a hit only in Sherman's mind, but still though, baby, the song had it going on, child. But the public received it as more like a novelty act. You know what I'm saying? They just didn't take him seriously. To them, it was George Jefferson coming out with a funny song. Now, Don Cornelius did give Sherman Hemsley the chance to perform his song. And baby, Sherman Hemsley showed up glistening and shining and ready to go, honey. Child, he got off on that stage on Soul Train and just a kicking and jiving and doing the funky chicken and sliding all across the stage. I mean, Sherman Hemsley was doing the most. Honestly, I don't know if it was really meant to be funny, but it was funny. I have left a link in the description so you can go view that video on your own time, baby. Now, that little bit of tea was funny, but child, this next little bit of tea finna be messy, 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 honey. Because, honey, the gossip says that Sherman Hemsley loved to have company, honey, and he loved to pay for that company. Baby, the folks say that if Sherman Hemsley saw a Latino or Dominican male, honey, he was willing to pay all the money in his doggone wallet to get that man to come home with him. And there were plenty of them that went with him. And if you are an older Dominican male and you're around the same age as Sherman Hemsley and you sitting up here watching this video thinking, I always thought Sherman Hemsley was cute, shoot, I should have gave him a chance. Baby, don't even waste your time because Sherman was not checking for you, hunty. And that's just being real. Because, baby, the Gossip says that Sherman wanted his men young. Now, I'm not talking about underage. Everybody was older than 18, but Gossip claims that he liked them between 21 and 25 years old. You know what I'm saying? He liked these men young, and it's also said that that is the reason that he was paying, because a lot of these young males didn't really care to be with an old man, but hey, he threw money in the mix and they said yeah. And in reference to that last rumor I just gave you, yes, it is claimed that Sherman Hemsley was a gay man. But according to Gossip, Sherman Hemsley never denied that he was a gay man. And I know a lot of y'all out there in the audience like, yeah, he probably didn't deny, but he also didn't confirm it. Baby, the folks on the street say they know y'all lying, because it is claimed that Sherman Hemsley confirmed his sexuality plenty of times. In fact, there's a story of a woman online that says she worked with Sherman Hemsley when he worked on the Jeffersons. And she said that during this time, Sherman did a lot of traveling. You know, I guess he had to do interviews and things like that. So they were all together and he would bring his male lover with him. And so the actual show's assistant, I'm guessing this person was, basically used to come up to Sherman and was like, hey, you know, I booked your room in 224 and your male assistant, his room is in 227. You know what I'm saying? Always kind of booking them in different rooms. And the lady claims that one day Sherman was just like, hey, look, stop all that. This man is my lover. He's not my assistant. He is my lover. Stop booking us in different rooms. And so the assistant was like, okay, yes, sir, and kind of walked on over. And the lady that's telling the tale said that after this, Sherman Hemsley kind of looked at her like, you know, God, you know, what's wrong with these people? Come on, man. You know, just basically kind of like laughed it off, but was like, you know, sis, can you believe these folks? And then there's this other rumor that Sherman actually said something about being gay himself on a Howard Stern show. Now, I did not see this show, but supposedly Sherman kind of like just confirmed, you know, that he was a gay man. And when Howard Stern was asked about this later on in life, he was kind of like, is this news? Y'all didn't know Sherman Hemsley was gay? Like, I didn't know he was hiding it. Like, yeah, it is what it is. And so after doing my research, in my opinion, it seems like Sherman Hemsley was a gay man. He never said that he wasn't a gay man. It just seems like he didn't feel like he had to say, hey world, I'm a gay man. Just like heterosexual people feel like they don't need to say, you know, hey, I'm hetero. You know, he didn't feel like he needed to say he was homosexual. Now let's get into another rumor. And this rumor yet again deals with people inside Sherman Hemsley's home. So that first story about the two Puerto Rican guys was in the 70s, okay? That's where that story was based. Well, this story is in the 80s, and it is claimed that there was a Puerto Rican couple that lived with Sherman Hemsley inside of his home. And apparently Sherman had met this couple somewhere and they were struggling. You know, they were on really, really hard times. So Sherman offered for them to live inside of his home. But when they got inside of the home, it's claimed that the couple didn't do anything. They basically wanted Sherman to pay for them. They started to feel like it was their home. As a matter of fact, it is claimed that they started demanding large sums of money from him. So it was like they were forcing him to give them cash and they wouldn't leave. And at first it said that Sherman Hemsley didn't say anything. You know what I'm saying? He continued to give them money, continued to take care of them. But then he got tired of it, you know, and either he or a friend of his finally told the couple, hey, you know, y'all need to leave. And when the couple heard this, they were furious and they told Sherman, hey, we are not going anywhere. And if you try to force us out, we are going to go to the National Enquirer and we're going to tell them that you are a cocaine head and you're a crack addict and that, you know, we're just living with you to try to help you because you're going off the deep end. Well, it's claimed that Sherman was like, hey, I still want you out of my house. So these people supposedly went ahead and called the National Enquirer and gave them this story. So that's one rumor. That's that rumor. And that rumor I honestly do not believe, because I looked through National Enquirer article after article after article dealing with Sherman Hemsley, and I didn't see anything where it had this Puerto Rican couple living with him, you know, because the rumor said they took pictures too. And I didn't see none of that. I didn't see no pictures, nor did I see an article basically saying, you know, Sherman Hemsley is on drugs, this Puerto Rican couple is helping him. So I don't know about that rumor, okay? But the other side of that rumor does not say anything about the National Enquirer, okay? But it is said that this Puerto Rican couple did live with him. They were forcing him to give them money. But the reason that it started off, the reason that they moved in with Sherman in the first place is because, yes, they were doing bad and he wanted to help them out. But it's also claimed that Sherman Hemsley did indeed have a cocaine problem. And he felt like the male would have access to cocaine to give to him. You know what I'm saying? So I guess this male knew drug dealers or something like that. But whatever the case, that was kind of the exchange. Now, I want you to keep this whole Puerto Rican couple rumor in mind, okay? Keep it in mind because it's about to come up again in just a minute. After A Man, Sherman Hemsley pretty much retired from acting. Yes, he did commercials here and there with Isabel Sanford. He also showed up in some TV shows as cameos, you know, like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and some others. But as far as like really acting full time, he retired from that. He also became majorly reclusive, and he picked up and moved from Los Angeles to El Paso. Now, a lot of people say that Sherman Hemsley moved to El Paso because he liked his privacy, just didn't want to deal with that big city Hollywood life anymore. But the messy tea out here says that that is a lie. It is claimed that the reason that Sherman Hemsley moved to El Paso is because, see, now he had a male lover living with him, and this male lover was controlling Sherman. He was controlling his finances, he was stealing from him, and he kind of forced Sherman to move to El Paso so they could get away from like prying eyes and peeping eyes and people that may have wanted to check in on Sherman and things like that. And so yet again, we have another story of Sherman Hemsley being forced to do something that he did not want to do, of him being taken control of. And for all of these rumors to float around, it's got to be a little smoke to them. I'm not saying they're true, I don't know, but it seems like there might be a little bit of smoke. And what it seems clear is that, you know, this guy was very giving and he was very kind, and people took advantage of him left and right. And because of this, because people took advantage of him like that, it is claimed that towards the end of his life, Sherman Hemsley became very bitter, very depressed, and he was very unhappy for some reason, and I'm guessing that was the reason why. Some people even claim that this sadness and this depression kind of made him cranky, you know what I'm saying, kind of very mean towards the end of his life, just kind of like he didn't want to be bothered, you know what I'm saying, he would get agitated really fast. And then on July 24th, 2012, he was found dead in his home. He was 74 years old, and his cause of death was given as vena cava syndrome. Now, after Sherman's death, things got really messy with his estate. And listen, I want y'all to pay attention, because I know that the rumors have been kind of twisty-turny, especially with the people that have lived with Sherman over the years. I know that was kind of hard to follow, but now we're about to go into the wilderness to try to like describe or explain this thing, okay? After Sherman Hemsley passes away, his will and estate passes to a lady named Flora Isela Enchinton. And I think I said that last name right. Now, Flora was Sherman's sole beneficiary, okay? And she said that she and Sherman Hemsley had been business partners for over 20 years. And not only that, she lived with Sherman and Sherman's friend Kenny Johnston for over 20 years. All three of them lived in this home together. Okay, now there's that, okay? Y'all got that? All right, so that's fine. But then this guy named Richard Thornton from Philadelphia comes and he contests the will. He says that he is Sherman Hemsley's brother. Now, when this brother, Richard Thornton, contests this will, this is when all of those rumors started flooding back, especially the rumor involving the Puerto Rican couple that lived with Sherman Hemsley. And these rumors were basically saying that Flora Isela was the lady, the female part of the couple, the Puerto Rican couple that lived with Sherman Hemsley. This rumor goes further to say that Flora and her husband never left that house. And it is claimed that Kenny Johnston did live there with Sherman Hemsley. So this rumor says that Sherman Hemsley and Kenny Johnston lived upstairs, and this Puerto Rican couple, Flora and her husband, lived downstairs. And that Kenny Johnston and Sherman, when they figured out that they couldn't get this couple out of the house, that, you know, basically they just all decided to live together. And of course, this rumor goes on to say that Kenny Johnston was not just a friend to Sherman Hemsley. These people were partners, you know what I'm saying? They were together. So this is the story that a lot of people bought. But as soon as that starts to make sense and you feel like you got it figured out, here comes another messy, scandalous monkey wrench that gets thrown in the mix. And this is when Kenny Johnston's son gets on a blog website as one of the commenters, and he basically says that, hey, my dad Kenny Johnston was not gay. He and Sherman were not together. As a matter of fact, and this is where it gets crazy, y'all, as a matter of fact, my dad Kenny and Flora used to be married. They were a couple. But that marriage did not work out. They got a divorce, and Flora fleeced my father Kenny Johnston out of his money, and she has also fleeced Sherman Hemsley. She some sort of way either forced him or talked him into putting her name on the will, and now she's stealing all of the money that's left. Woo! Child, look, hey baby, I know it's a twisty behind journey, baby, but we finna get through it. Now, if that son is to be believed, then a lot of people took this to mean that Kenny Johnson, as well as Flora Enchinton, or however you say her name, that they actually made up that Puerto Rican couple that was forcing Sherman to give them his money. And when Flora initially said, hey, I was Sherman's business partner for 20 years and I lived in the home with him and his friend for 20 years, his friend Kenny Johnston, that she basically was just doing word salad or wordplay because Kenny Johnston was actually her husband. And like I said, in the end, they both were kind of fleecing Sherman out of his money, out of his will. And rumor goes on to be even messier than that because it's claimed that Flora did not gyp Kenny or anything. You know what I'm saying? That they both ended up gypping the public as well as Sherman, and they did this by not letting the public know that they were together, that they were stealing this money together. So basically it was just like she was a lone woman that Sherman had been kind of taking care of, you know, and he left his stuff to her, but in reality she got the stuff in the end, and she and her husband split this money because in the end she did indeed get the money. The so-called brother Richard Thornton that came to court, his stuff got thrown out and they did grant her the will and the estate. But in case all of that was not complicated enough for you, let me complicate things a bit further. So anyways, there was this blog website, or still is this blog website, and I'm going to refer to this site as Cena Flowers. If you can figure out this site on your own time, hey, good for you. But here on this video, I'm going to call this blog website Cena Flowers. Well, on this blog website, the blogger and owner of the website, after Sherman Hemsley had died in 2012, you know, she had several write-ups about him, you know what I'm saying? I was posting several stories and things like that, and I don't know if she was putting the stories as fact or not, but I do know that supposedly in one article, she wrote something where she said that Sherman Hemsley would not be buried for at least 3.5 months, okay? That his body was going to be kept above ground for 3.5 months. A woman by the name of Belinda got in Cena Flowers' comments, and she basically went off and said, you know, hi, I am Sherman Hemsley's wife. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what you're talking about. You didn't even get his age right. You said he's 64. He's really 74. A simple Google check would check out, you know, and you said my husband is going to be buried within 3 months and all. It was just basically like this person was going off. And really, it's not the going off part that's the big deal. The big deal is that she said that she was Sherman Hemsley's wife. Now, I don't know about y'all, but out of all of the research and things and digging that I did, it never once said that Sherman Hemsley was married. So it was just like a bit complicated matter. And mind you, these comments and the stuff on the Cena Flowers website, all of this went on before the judge decided to give this will and this estate to Flora, okay? So everything was still open. So it was like all of these people, you had Flora Isella, you had the Richard Thornton, and now you had this lady named Belinda, and it's like all of these people were coming out of the woodwork saying that they were wives and friends and brothers, and it was just crazy, just a bunch of craziness surrounding Sherman Hemsley, child. And quite frankly, I find all of this very sad. I find it very sad because if it does not prove anything else, it definitely proves that Sherman Hemsley must have been surrounded by leeches throughout his life, y'all. He had to. If they are after him that much after his death, when he was alive and he was very kind-hearted and giving, there's no telling how many people took advantage of this man with this good heart. But the thing of it is, they fought so hard to get what was left after his will, but gossip claims that by the time Sherman Hemsley passed away, he only had $50,000 net worth. And that's net worth, so that's assets, you know, property and everything. That's not cash. If he only had $50,000 net worth, the man probably only had, what, $1,000 cash? I mean, you know, it couldn't have been that much. As a matter of fact, it is claimed that he was already going through money trouble when he appeared on the Howard Stern show, and I think this happened in the early 90s. And the appearance was, it was a disaster, to be honest with you, because the appearance was Howard Stern in blackface and Sherman Hemsley with a dreadlocked wig on. And what happened is that back in the early 90s, Whoopi Goldberg, who was dating Ted Danson put on a comedy show where he had a blackface, and during the whole comedy bit, he just N-word, 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 I mean, just slinging it around. And so this caused an uproar because people were like, wow, you can tell jokes without calling people the N-word. Why do you have blackface? All this good stuff. And Whoopi Goldberg supposedly defended her man. That was her man, baby, she gonna stick beside him, you know. So they had that going on. Well, then Howard Stern and Sherman Hemsley were making fun of that. They were basically saying, you know, that's wrong. Whoopi and Ted Danson, y'all are wrong. And in order to say this, Howard Stern, who is a shock journalist, you know what I'm saying? He does everything for the shock factor. He did the blackface and everything, and he started saying N-word, N-word, N-word. And Sherman Hemsley was sitting beside him, and, you know, he was acting like Whoopi Goldberg, and he's just like, you know, Ted, you crazy, you crazy. All the while Howard Stern is calling him multiple N-words. You big fat A N-word, you know what I'm saying? Just all kind of stuff. You dreadhead, nappy head, N-word, all kind of stuff, y'all. I'm serious. It was really ridiculous. And I understand that they were trying to do it to bring awareness to the Whoopi Goldberg and Ted Danson situation and kind of be like, you know, shame on them. But it was real cringy. It was really also like shame on y'all, because it feels like that Howard Stern, you just can't wait to say N-word, you know, so like just bad, you know what I'm saying? And even if Howard Stern had good intentions to point out the real racist that he thought was a racist, it just looked bad. It looked bad on him, it looked bad on Sherman Hemsley, and it just was bad. And it was sad because it's claimed that Sherman Hemsley even agreed to do this because, you know, he needed the money. So yeah, y'all, it was just bad. But I hate it for Sherman Hemsley, you know what I'm saying? I just hate it, you know, and I liked him. I loved him as George Jefferson. It seems like he was a great person, and it's just sad that it had to end the way it did. But anyways, this is the old Hollywood scandalous story on Mr. Sherman Hemsley.
Hey y'all, I just had to ask this question because the thought just kind of ran through my mind. Do y'all think that Sherman Hemsley could have been in like a hostage situation or something, where he was like really scared for his life of these people or whoever was inside of his home? You know what I mean? Do y'all think that could have been a possibility? I'm just wondering, because for some reason that thought just kept running in my mind, and like I don't have any evidence to back that up, so you know, no, this is not a claim, but I'm just asking, what are your opinions on that? Leave comments in the comment section, because I don't know, the whole thing is just weird to me. Okay, bye y'all.
I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like this video, y'all, because again, it will help me very much, and I will be back soon with another video. Bye.